Alright, what's up, Dragon Brood? We have Strixhaven about to launch, and that means there's going to be a lot of questions from people about what they should or shouldn't spend their resources on. But let it be known that this video is a couple of things, right? We're not going to cover every single good known card because that wouldn't be worth your time. We're generally going to talk about cards that people maybe weren't sure of that we can confirm are actually being played and are good. And this isn't every single thing you should or shouldn't craft in these videos. Additionally, this doesn't mean these cards will forever be good. This is just where they are right now. So we're talking about cards that are at least overperforming in the early stages of the format. But one thing I do want to say is that if you are thinking about crafting the lands, this is like the most obvious thing that we do want to tell people. Yes, go ahead and do it. You're going to be able to play these for the next 3 years, and if they're going to make your deck better, just go ahead and craft them. Yes, it sucks to have to spend your resources on lands, whether that's cash or cards, whatever points online that you have to spend, but the reality is they're just good, right? You need them, craft them. I don't think that's really a question. And I want to give an honorable mention to Fix What's Broken, mostly because this card actually can be very good, and we've seen some glimpses that it will be, but I think we have to figure out the best ways to use it still, though right now, it looks like the prevailing, I guess, wisdom is that setting this card at 5 life is generally going to get you the most results, so just start there if you decide to play it. But now we're going to get into the good stuff. The first is Black Loafing Pest. It's 1 black green for a 3/4, which is already pretty good on its own. It does happen to be a pest. It's legendary. And whenever you gain life, you put a +1/+1 counter on each pest, bat, insect, snake, or spider you control. Now, this does come with a caveat. I think a lot of people want to play the pest deck, and honestly, there's not that many great pests. We looked at it live online. We tried to find other people that have attempted to build with it, and everybody kind of came around to the same idea, that Blex really good in things where you're gaining life, and whether you're using bats or snakes or whatever the case is, it just tends to not be a lot of pests. There's a couple that are useful, but if you are playing black, it's probably going to be in some black-green or even black-green-white deck that actually just gaining a lot of life and happens to have some number of bats or snakes or whatever, and not so much because of the pests. So if you're okay with that and you want to craft it, I say go ahead. The card is very good, and whatever deck you play it in, you're probably going to want at least 3 of that thing. And honestly, 4 copies of Black isn't that out of the question. It's a pretty good card in the decks that want it. Man, I gotta tell you, anybody that watches the channel knows that I hate the number of sweepers we have available in Standard. I think we waste a lot of spaces on them. In every set, there's 2 or 3 of them. Hell, I think this set had 4 if I go back and look. That being said, this is probably the best of them when we're talking about Withering Curse. 1 black, it's a sorcery. All creatures get -2/-2 until end of turn. And if you've gained life this turn, you destroy all creatures instead. I think we're going to see a lot of this card. It's very good on turn 3 for just getting rid of a bunch of mana creatures and whatnot. Looking at you, Badger Mole Cub. But honestly, it's just solid in general. You can get rid of small creatures or can get rid of everything. And it's pretty easy to gain life. Matter of fact, we're going to talk about another card that you could probably play in the same deck as this that gains a bunch of life. So yeah, if you want to see that video where we talk about all the different sweepers in the format and why we don't need more, let me know down in the comments. We might make that video. But otherwise, yeah, this is a good card. If you're thinking about playing it, go for it. Now, I will say the most obvious card on this list is probably Erode, but it's included because there were a lot of discussions on, well, it's not Path to Exile, so it's not as good. Sure, it doesn't exile, but honestly, being able to hit Planeswalkers is pretty good because we're going to talk about one that actually makes this list as well. But the card is just good. Yes, you ramp your opponent and they get a land, but we saw multiple times this card being played and it was fantastic. If you don't know what it is, it's 1 white for an instant. Destroy target creature or planeswalker. Its controller can search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. I mean, point blank, it's 1 mana to remove anything. Yes, you ramp your opponent, but if you're getting rid of a problematic enough threat, totally worth it. I don't know why there was any question on why this card was good or if it was going to be as good, but yes, this card is obviously good. Now, this one might surprise you, but Witherbloom the Balancer has turned out so far to be probably the most easily playable of the new dragons. And hint, if you haven't watched the other video yet, we talk about one you should probably stay away from. But this one actually surprised people. Now, it is 8 mana. It's 6 black-green for a 5/5. It does have affinity for creatures, so it's cheaper for the number of creatures you control. and it has flying, and it has death touch, and then your instant and sorceries you cast have affinity for creatures. Now, I will say, you're not necessarily playing a ton of spells if you're playing this card, and I think that was the thing that probably confused people on the deck building, is finding a way to play both a lot of creatures and a lot of spells. But the reality is you don't need a lot of spells. You just need a handful, maybe 6 or 8, and a couple of those being X spells or whatever, and you just get extra value off of this. You're already wanting to play creatures, and getting a 5/5 dragon sometimes for 3 mana or 4 mana is more than reasonable on a card like this. So yeah, it's kind of the easiest to play of the dragons because you don't have to do anything different in the deck building process, and you get a solid body that just gives you some, I guess, added value. That being said, I wouldn't go crazy and play like 4 of these because as I'm playing Golgari colors, or I guess in this case Witherbloom, I would actually just probably craft like 2 of them and you'd be good to go with that. Applied Geometry. This is a fun one. It's 2 green blue for a sorcery. Create a token that's a copy of target non or a permanent you control, except it's a 0/0 fractal creature, in addition to its other types. Put 6+1/+1 counters on it. Now, we didn't really know how good this card was going to be. I think we all assumed, because 4 mana to copy anything seems really good. And the fact that you can turn some things into creatures, which, speaking of, you should subscribe to the channel because we have a whole video coming out on single card strategies based around this card, and there's some really silly stuff you can do. So we'll get into it in detail in that video. But right now, this card is really good for just copying something that just gets counters, for copying removal stuff, for just getting extra duplicates of things that you want to use the ability multiple times, having another ETB trigger from something. This can do a lot of things. And yeah, sure, you can't copy auras, but who cares? The options of what you can copy is huge. This is probably the most flexible copy spell we've had maybe ever, and it's only 4 mana. And it comes with a huge upside, giving you an additional creature as well. This card, surprisingly or not surprisingly, depending on how you viewed it, turned out to be pretty good. Now, this one was a little bit more surprising when we're talking about Wildgrowth Archaic. Now, it's either 2 green or some combination of 2 generic or 4 generic mana. It is a creature with trample and reach, which is really good, and then it enters with +1/+1 counters equal to the different colors of mana that you spent on it. And then every other creature you cast also has that ability of getting more counters equal to the different colors you spent on it. Now, I saw this played a few different ways. We did this in a mono green list where we just splash a bunch of lands to allow other counters to be put on stuff. Turned out to be really good, like really, really good. But then also saw some people trying it in some different 4 and 5 color builds. And no surprise, it was good there as well. Now, does this replace other cards in those builds? I don't really know yet, but at least in the few decks we saw it, it was an exceptionally good card. So if you're thinking about playing it, I think this is pretty good. However, I feel like if you do craft these, you're kind of dedicating to doing the mono green or at least like creature counter beatdown thing for a minute. If that's your jam, go for it. If not, I think twice about it a little bit because I don't know if this is just a go into all decks type creature that happen to be playing green. Maybe it does. Right now, verdict's out, we don't really know. But if you're playing anything that does want to play fast, does want to play counters, this is definitely going to be the card for you. Hey, remember how we were talking about Blex? Moseo's New Dawn, Vane's New Dawn is, or actually New Dean. I don't know why I keep saying Dawn on this card. But Moseo Vane's New Dean is actually a card that can be played alongside Blex because you also do get a Pest here. That's very good. But the life gain from this to be able to just keep returning creatures, hell, to be honest, you gain a couple of life, you start returning Blex. That's good all on its own. Now, this is another card I don't think you need to go and have 4 of, but 2 or 3 in a lot of the decks that are able to gain life can just keep you just recurring creatures constantly, getting those ETB triggers, and just getting an extra Pest that you get to gain some life on, just a nice bonus. But yeah, overall, this card wasn't really what I would call surprising. It was just very solid, right? I don't think this is going to be the type of card that breaks games wide open, but it's definitely a good recovery card, and it could be that card that once you're ahead can keep you ahead. It actually, I mean, it's just priced exactly right. 3 mana for a 2/1 flyer. It lets you get an extra Pest, and then however much life you gain, you return something that costs X or less at the end of your turn. Pretty straightforward what it does, but it turns out it actually is pretty good at doing what it's trying to do. And another card that gains life, Professor Dellian Fel. This is 2 black-green for a 5 loyalty planeswalker. It does have +2 to gain 3 life, 0 to draw a card, lose a life, -3 to destroy a creature, and at -6 you get an emblem that whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. The things to note on this card are quite a few. The first is that, well, you can just gain 3 life, trigger stuff, right? We've talked about some cards just in this video that trigger from you gaining life. Additionally, if you activate plus once, you can just minus the next turn and not lose your planeswalker, because you go up to 7 loyalty, and then you -6 and you still have 1. That's how math works. But the other parts are good too. Just when you're digging for a card, losing a life to draw, totally acceptable. Or sometimes you just pay 4, destroy target creature, also acceptable. Like, there is nothing bad about this card, even if you only get to use it once. And it can go into so many decks. If you're playing any type of Golgari, mid-range, Jund, slower pile of stuff, like, there's going to be a lot of random builds that find a use for this card. It's just so versatile for 4 mana. Not a surprise. If you're thinking about playing it, go for it. This card was exceptionally good, and I think we're going to continue to see this card, possibly for the entire 3 years it's in Standard. Might be one of the safer cards from the set for you to actually craft or buy. Also, as a quick note, if you want to support the channel, we have a bunch of different merchandise, stickers, mugs, shirts, cool sayings, and things like I'm your Huckleberry, or you can get your official Aggro You shirt in the links down below. So please check that out. But Resonating Lute. This card was kind of crazy. It's 2 red, blue, artifact, land you control, have tap, add 2 mana of any color. Spend this mana only to cast instants and sorcery spells. You can tap it to draw a card. Activate only if you have 7 or more cards in your hand. Let me tell you, that second paragraph of text, I don't think I ever even saw it come into play except for maybe once where somebody got to draw from it. But that first paragraph of text, oh boy, like, this might end up being one of the best, I guess, control-centric cards, I guess, if you want to call it that, because it's just so much extra mana in decks that want to just play instants and sorceries anyway, right? They never have to worry about how much mana's up. They can draw cards and still do something. There's so many ways to combo with this. We saw a bunch of different people doing various things with this card. This might actually be a card that you have to try to get rid of on site. Like, it's possible, and I'm not going to say it is yet because we don't know what the metagame's going to do, but it is very possible that we could end up in a meta where this card is so prevalent that you're going to have some artifact removal spells main deck. Otherwise, once they play this and they untap with it, they're just going to be able to run away with the game if they play a 5th land and have 10 plus mana available. Like, just absolute crazy that the amount of mana this card generates, and not a surprise. I mean, it reads just as good as it plays. But yeah, I think overall, Secrets of Strixhaven is... Secrets of Strixhaven. Why was that hard to say this time of day? But I think it's full of good cards. So yes, there's going to be some that we'll just have to experiment with. I think there's going to be a lot that we will have to wait and see how the metagame shapes out for what actually can kind of find its way into a stable list regularly. But man, there's a lot to experiment with this set. But don't forget, we do have an accompanying video if you haven't checked it out. All the other stuff you shouldn't necessarily craft or buy because they've been underperforming here in the early going of the format. So be sure to check that video out as well. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Do the things that make the dings. That's all I have for now. We'll see you next time.